What do you do when you've had every woman in the world and felt nothing? When pleasure becomes punishment? When the search for satisfaction becomes the thing slowly killing you? That's the question Kang Min-Jae couldn't answer as he stood in his penthouse at 4 in the morning, staring at Seoul's skyline like it held secrets it would never tell him. The apartment still smelled like her expensive perfume, the kind that cost $3,000 an ounce. It lingered in the air like expensive smoke, mixing with the scent of silk sheets that cost more than most people's monthly salary. Somewhere behind him, the king-sized bed was empty now. She'd left an hour ago. The actress. The one whose face sold out concert halls across 3 continents. 3 hours she tried. 3 hours of everything she knew, everything she'd learned, everything she'd perfected. And Min-Jae felt the same thing he always felt. Absolutely nothing. He pressed his palm against the floor-to-ceiling window. Cold glass. $70 million of bulletproof architecture between him and the city below, and it might as well have been a coffin. Beyond the glass, Busan's harbor glittered like scattered diamonds. Ships moved through the water like ghosts. His ships. His empire. Legal and illegal, light and shadow, all of it his. All of it meaningless. The wedding photo caught his eye. He kept it there deliberately. On the side table next to the window. A reminder. A punishment. Seo-yeon smiled out from the silver frame, radiant and white, her hand in his, both of them looking at each other like the rest of the world had disappeared. That man in the photo was dead. He died the same day she did. 5 years ago. A car bomb meant for him. The Song family sending a message about territory disputes. Except messages written in blood sometimes kill the wrong people. The explosion had been so powerful they'd needed dental records to identify her body. Min-Jae had stood at the funeral and felt nothing. Everyone expected tears. The grieving widower. The devastated husband. He'd stood there in his black suit, accepting condolences, watching them lower her into the ground, and inside him was just empty. Like someone had scooped out everything that made him human and left the shell standing. He thought it was shock. That grief would come later. That eventually he'd break down and cry and scream and shatter like normal people did when they lost the person who made their world make sense. But it never came. The emptiness just stayed. Grew. Consumed everything until Min-Jae couldn't remember what feeling anything was like. Hyung-nim. The voice came from behind him. Min-Jae didn't turn. He knew that voice. Taeyong. His cousin. His underboss. The man who'd been cleaning up his messes for 5 years now. It's 4 in the morning, Taeyong. I know what time it is. Footsteps crossed the marble floor. Expensive shoes. Italian. Min-Jae bought them for him last month. I also know you sent her away early. That's the 3rd one this week. Are you keeping count now? Someone has to. Taeyong moved into his peripheral vision. Younger than Min-Jae by 7 years. Handsome in that carefully cultivated way Seoul's elite preferred. Designer everything. Perfect hair. The kind of man who looked good in photographs and better in boardrooms. This isn't healthy, Hyung-nim. Min-Jae finally turned to look at him. What exactly isn't healthy? Being selective about my company? This isn't selective. This is self-destruction. Taeyong's voice was careful. Measured. He knew how to talk to Min-Jae when he was like this. Everyone in the organization knew. The Ice Phoenix of Busan. Cold. Controlled. Dangerous when provoked. You're searching for something that doesn't exist. I'm searching for proof I'm still alive. You are alive. Your heart beats. You breathe. You run an empire that makes half of Seoul's elite nervous. That's alive. That's existing. Min-Jae moved away from the window toward the bar cart. Crystal decanters caught the dim light. Whiskey older than Taeyong. He poured 2 fingers. Didn't offer his cousin any. Existing isn't living. Seo-yeon wouldn't want this. Wrong thing to say. Min-Jae's hand tightened around the glass. For a moment, just a flash, something moved behind his eyes. Something dark. Dangerous. Then it was gone. The ice returned. Don't. His voice came out flat. Don't tell me what my dead wife would want. Taeyong had the intelligence to bow slightly. Forgive me. The silence stretched between them like razor wire. Outside, the city was waking up. First light touching the harbor. Ships heading out to sea. Some of them carrying Min-Jae's legal cargo. Some carrying the other kind. Art that wasn't supposed to leave its country of origin. Diamonds without proper documentation. The kind of business that built empires and destroyed souls. The charity gala is tonight, Taeyang said finally. The Shilla Hotel. The Huang family is expecting you. Min-Jae didn't respond. Just drank his whiskey. It was supposed to be smooth. Expensive enough to be smooth. But it burned going down like everything else in his life. Another sensation that didn't satisfy. Another experience that left him emptier than before. I'm not going. You have to go. You promised. The business alliance. I don't care about the alliance. The organization cares. Our investors care. The families we do business with care. Taeyang moved closer. You're the Ice Phoenix of Busan. You control half of South Korea's luxury import trade. Legal and illegal. You make or break fortunes with a phone call. You can't just disappear because you're having a bad night. Every night is a bad night. Then what's one more? Taeyang's voice softened. Go to the gala. Shake the right hands. Smile for the cameras. Show Seoul's elite that Kang Min-Jae is still in control. Then come home and break whatever you want. But maintain the image. That's all I'm asking. Min-Jae looked at his cousin for a long moment. Taeyang was right. He usually was. The organization needed stability. Needed their leader to appear strong. Controlled. Untouchable. That's what the Ice Phoenix was supposed to be. Even if inside he was just ash and emptiness. Fine. He set down the glass. I'll go. I'll perform. I'll play the role. Taeyang's relief was visible. Thank you, Hyung-nim. Now get out. I need to shower. His cousin bowed and left. The door whispered shut on expensive hinges. Min-Jae stood alone again in his penthouse prison, surrounded by everything money could buy and nothing that mattered, and resigned himself to another night of pretending to be human. He walked to his closet. Opened doors to reveal suits that cost more than luxury cars. Each one perfectly tailored. Each one designed to make him look powerful. Untouchable. He selected black. He always selected black. The color of funerals. The color of endings. In the bathroom, mirrors reflected a man who looked 36 but felt ancient. Sharp features. Cold eyes. The kind of face that made people nervous at negotiating tables. He'd cultivated that look. Perfected it. The Ice Phoenix. The man who felt nothing. The shower was scalding. He didn't feel it. Just stood under water hot enough to burn and waited to feel something. Anything. The same ritual every morning. The same disappointment every time. By the time he was dressed, the sun had risen completely. Seoul stretched out below his window in all its morning chaos. Millions of people rushing to jobs and lives and loves. All of them feeling things Min-Jae couldn't remember how to feel. All of them alive in ways he'd forgotten. His phone buzzed. Taeyang confirming the car would arrive at 7. The gala started at 8. 3 hours of handshakes and false smiles and pretending he cared about charity when the only thing he wanted was to feel something real again. Min-Jae looked at Seo-Yeon's photo one more time. She was frozen there. Forever 28. Forever smiling. Forever dead because someone wanted to hurt him. I'm sorry, he told her picture. Like he did every morning. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. I'm sorry I can't feel anymore. I'm sorry I'm still here when you're not. The photo didn't answer. It never did. He turned away. Closed the bedroom door. Locked the emptiness inside where it belonged. Tonight would be like every other night. Meaningless conversations. Beautiful women who bored him. The same hollow performance of being alive when he was really just a corpse that forgot to stop breathing. He had no idea that tonight everything would change. That a woman from 5,000 miles away, wearing her heritage like armor and her confidence like a crown, would walk into that hotel and shatter his carefully constructed ice with one genuine laugh. He had no idea that in less than 12 hours, the Ice Phoenix would feel something again. Whether he wanted to or not. And if you don't subscribe right now, you're going to miss the exact moment when Min-Jae's dead heart starts beating again. You're going to miss the woman who makes the most dangerous man in Korea feel powerless for the first time in his life. You're going to miss the look on his face when she dismisses him like he's nobody. But sure, keep scrolling. Pretend you don't need to know what happens when a man who's felt nothing for 5 years finally meets the one woman who makes him feel everything. The thing about being royalty is that you carry it with you everywhere. It's not in a crown. It's not in a title. It's in your spine. In the way you hold your head. In the absolute certainty that you belong in any room you enter. Akojua Mensah understood this in her bones. She stood in front of the floor-length mirror in her suite at the Shilla Hotel, watching her sister Amma zip up the back of her dress, and felt the weight of her grandmother's words settling around her shoulders like invisible hands. A queen never begs for a seat at the table, Akojua. She brings her own throne. The dress was her throne tonight. Custom-made. Traditional Kent cloth reimagined in a silhouette that Seoul's fashion elite would understand but never expect. Gold threads caught the light. The pattern told a story. Her story. Ashanti royalty meeting Korean high society on her terms. Not theirs. "You're going to stop traffic in this?" Amma said, stepping back to admire her work. Her younger sister by 3 years. Partner in Gold Coast Atelier. The practical one who kept Akojua's creative vision grounded in business reality. "Seoul has never seen anything like you." "That's the point." Akojua turned, examining herself from different angles. The dress moved like liquid gold. Like power. Like everything she'd built from nothing. "We're not here to blend in, Amma. We're here to make them remember that African luxury exists. That we've been royalty since before their dynasties were born." Still. Amma's voice carried a note of caution. "This is a charity gala. Seoul's elite. Old money. Older prejudices. Some of them won't like a black woman walking in like she owns the place. I don't care what they like." Akojua met her sister's eyes in the mirror. "We didn't come 5,000 miles to ask permission. Gold Coast Atelier is opening in Gangnam next month. This is business. Nothing else. And if powerful men try to make it something else?" Akojua's jaw tightened. She dealt with powerful men before. Oil magnates in Ghana who saw her heritage and thought trophy wife. Tech billionaires in Lagos who wanted to collect her like rare art. Real estate moguls in Nairobi who assumed a beautiful woman in fashion must be looking for a wealthy husband. They all learned the same lesson. Akojua Mensah was not for sale. Not for marriage. Not for collection. Not for anything except the empire she was building, one carefully placed store at a time. "Then they'll learn what every other powerful man learned," she said. "That I'm here to build, not to be acquired." Amma smiled. That knowing smile. "You say that like you haven't noticed how they look at you. Men always look. Looking is free. Touching costs more than they can afford." Her sister laughed. Rich. Genuine. The sound filled the hotel suite like music. "Sister, you're going to break some hearts tonight." Hearts break themselves. Akojua turned away from the mirror. "I'm just here to open a store." But even as she said it, something whispered in the back of her mind. A premonition. A warning. Tonight felt different. Charged. Like standing on a beach before a storm and feeling the air change. She dismissed it. Superstition. Grandmother's old stories about fate and destiny. Akojua dealt in fabric and business plans and profit margins. Not fairy tales. The car arrived at 7:30. Black. Expensive. The hotel had arranged it. Everything in Seoul was efficient. Clean. Perfect. Like the city itself. Ancient temples next to glass skyscrapers. Traditional markets beside luxury boutiques. A place where old and new collided and somehow coexisted. Not unlike what Akojua was trying to build with Gold Coast Atelier. The Shilla Hotel's grand ballroom was already filling when they arrived. Crystal chandeliers. Marble floors. Men in tuxedos that cost more than cars. Women dripping in jewelry that could fund hospitals. Charity galas were always the same. Rich people gathering to feel good about giving away a fraction of what they hoarded. But they were also opportunities. Networking. Connections. The kind of relationships that turn business plans into empires. "There's Director Choi Mi-sun," Amma whispered, nodding toward a woman in red. "Fashion editor for Vogue Korea. We need her attention." "Then let's get it." They moved through the crowd like they belonged there. Because they did. Akojua caught the stares. Some appreciative. Some confused. Some hostile. A black woman in traditional African fashion at Seoul's most exclusive charity event. She was everything they didn't expect. Good. Let them stare. Let them wonder. Let them remember. She was laughing at something Amma said about the overpriced champagne when she felt it. That prickling sensation at the back of her neck. The feeling of being watched. Not the casual glances she'd been getting all night. Something different. More intense. Akojua didn't turn around. Didn't give whoever it was the satisfaction. Just kept laughing, kept talking, kept being exactly who she was. What she didn't know was that across the room, the most dangerous man in Korea had just felt something for the first time in 5 years. and he was staring at her like she'd personally reached into his chest and restarted his dead heart. But if you're not subscribed, you won't see what happens when their eyes finally meet. You won't see the moment the Ice Phoenix realizes he's looking at the only woman in the world who could destroy him. You won't see Akojua's face when she realizes the man watching her isn't just another wealthy suitor. He's a storm. And he's already decided she's worth drowning for. Min-Jae had been at the bar for 20 minutes when she walked in. He'd positioned himself there deliberately. Good vantage point. Could see the entire ballroom. Could observe without participating. Could maintain his role as the Ice Phoenix. Present but apart. Powerful but untouchable. Taeyang stood beside him, making small talk with a shipping magnate about container routes. Business as usual. The kind of conversation Min-Jae could have in his sleep. Numbers. Percentages. Profit margins. All of it meaningless background noise. Then the room's energy shifted. It was subtle. The kind of thing most people wouldn't notice. But Min-Jae had spent 15 years reading rooms. Knowing when power dynamics changed. When something unexpected entered the equation. She entered like she owned every molecule of air in the ballroom. Min-Jae's hand froze halfway to his whiskey glass. The dress hit him first. Gold. No, not just gold. Kent cloth. Traditional African weaving in a modern silhouette that should have clashed with the room's aesthetic but somehow elevated it. Like she'd brought her entire heritage with her and dared anyone to question it. Then her bearing. Head high. Spine straight. Moving through Seoul's elite like a queen reviewing her subjects. Not arrogant. Just absolutely certain of her right to be there. Then her face. Beautiful. But not in the manufactured way Seoul's socialites were beautiful. Not surgically enhanced or carefully painted. Just naturally, devastatingly, undeniably beautiful. Dark skin that caught the chandelier light. Features that could have been carved by artists. Eyes that missed nothing. And then she laughed. The sound cut through the ballroom's polite murmur like lightning through fog. Rich. Genuine. Unrestrained. Not the practiced tinkle of women performing femininity. Real joy at something her companion said. Min-Jae felt it hit him in the chest. Physical. Actual. Like a fist wrapped in velvet. He felt something. After 5 years of nothing. After 1,000 women who left him cold. After resigning himself to a life of emotional death. He felt something. Interest. Curiosity. What? Oh God, he wanted. Wanted to know what made her laugh like that. Wanted to know her story. Wanted to hear his name in her voice. Wanted things he hadn't wanted since Seo-Yun died. His hand tightened around the whiskey glass hard enough to hurt. Hyung-nim? Taeyang's voice came from very far away. Are you all right? Min-Jae couldn't answer. Couldn't look away from her. She was talking to an older woman now. Another African woman. Sister maybe. Same bone structure. Same regal bearing. They moved through the crowd together like synchronized dancers. And she hadn't looked at him once. Hadn't noticed him at all. That was the second shock. Women always noticed Kang Min-Jae. Some because they recognized him. Some because they felt his power like heat from a fire. Some because Taeyang had spread the word about who he was. This woman looked through him like he was furniture. Who is that? Min-Jae's voice came out rougher than intended. Taeyang followed his gaze. His eyebrows climbed toward his hairline. Akojua Mensah. Ghanaian fashion designer. She's opening Gold Coast Atelier's first Asian flagship in Gangnam next month. Big deal in fashion circles. First African luxury brand with a standalone Seoul location. Tell me more. She's Ashanti royalty. Grandmother was a queen mother. Real lineage, not ceremonial. Built her fashion house from nothing. Started in Accra, expanded to Lagos, now Seoul. Speaks 5 languages. Turned down a marriage proposal from an oil magnate worth $3 billion last year. Taeyang paused. Why? Introduce me. Silence. Complete. Total. The shipping magnate found somewhere else to be. Hyung-Nim, Taeyang said carefully. She's not. Now. His cousin knew better than to argue when Min-Jae used that tone. They crossed the ballroom together. Min-Jae was aware of people watching. Whispers following. The Ice Phoenix on the move. That always meant something. Akojua was examining a painting when they approached. Some modern piece about nothing. She stood with her sister, heads tilted at the same angle, clearly unimpressed. Pretentious, the sister muttered. Derivative, Akojua agreed. Then she laughed again. That sound. God, that sound. Ms. Mensah? Taeyong's voice was smooth, professional. May I introduce my cousin, Kang Min-Jae? She turned, finally looked at him. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent. They swept over Min-Jae in half a second and cataloged everything. His suit, his posture, his carefully maintained expression, reading him like a balance sheet. Mr. Kang. Her hand extended, professional. Her grip was firm when he took it. A pleasure. Her skin was warm against his. Soft. Real. Min-Jae felt the contact like electricity. She felt nothing. He could see it in her eyes. Polite interest. Business courtesy. Nothing more. The pleasure is mine, he managed. His voice sounded normal. Controlled. Like his heart wasn't hammering against his ribs. I've heard impressive things about Gold Coast Atelier. Have you? A slight smile. Polite. Distant. How kind. That was it. That was all she gave him. Then she turned back to her sister, back to their conversation, effectively dismissing him without saying a word. Kang Min-Jae. The Ice Phoenix of Busan. The man who made billionaires sweat. The criminal emperor who controlled more of Korea's economy than most corporations. Dismissed like he was nobody. Taeyong cleared his throat. Made some excuse. Guided Min-Jae away before the situation became awkward. They returned to the bar in silence. I told you, Taeyong said quietly. She's not like the others. She's here for business. Not looking for relationships. Especially not with men like me. Min-Jae finished. His cousin had the grace not to answer. Men like him. Criminals. Dangerous. The kind of power that came soaked in blood. Smart woman. She was absolutely right to keep her distance. But Min-Jae couldn't stop watching her. Couldn't stop cataloging every detail. The way she moved. How she listened when people spoke. The intelligence in her eyes. The confidence in every gesture. She wasn't performing. Wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was just fully, completely, authentically herself. And God help him, Min-Jae wanted that. Wanted her. Wanted to know what it felt like to be near someone that real. For the next hour he watched her work the room. She was brilliant at it. Made connections effortlessly. Spoke Korean with a slight accent that somehow made everything she said more interesting. Switched to English with the international guests. Commanded attention without demanding it. And never once looked in his direction. Director Choi Mi-sun engaged her in deep conversation about African textile traditions. A tech CEO offered investment opportunities. 3 separate socialites asked about her dress. Akojua handled it all with grace and sharp business acumen. This wasn't a woman looking for a man to complete her. This was a queen building an empire. Min-Jae smiled. Actually smiled. For the first time in 5 years. Because Akojua Mensah had just become the only thing he wanted. The only puzzle that mattered. The only proof that he could still feel something real. And what Kang Min-Jae wanted he always got. Always. But someone else was watching his obsession. Across the room, Song Hye-Rin stood with her father, tracking Min-Jae's every glance at the African woman. And she was smiling too. A very different kind of smile. The kind that promised blood. Subscribe now because what comes next will shatter everything. The pursuit. The trap. The moment when Akojua realizes the most dangerous man in Korea has decided she's worth starting a war for. And the choice she'll have to make between her principles and survival. Don't you dare scroll past. You need to see what happens when a queen refuses to bow and a phoenix decides she's the only thing worth burning for. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for Kang Min-Jae to become a regular fixture in Seoul's fashion scene. 3 weeks of the Ice Phoenix of Busan showing up at places he'd never been seen before. Gallery openings featuring textile artists. Fashion industry mixers. Boutique launches in Gangnam. Investment meetings with luxury brands. Always professional. Always perfectly positioned. Always exactly where Akojua Mensah happened to be. This is getting ridiculous, Hyung-nim, Taeyong said as they pulled up to yet another fashion event. This one was a sustainable fashion symposium at the Dongdaemun Design Plaza. Min-Jae had never cared about sustainable anything in his life. People are starting to talk. Let them talk. Min-Jae adjusted his cufflinks. Burberry today. He'd started paying attention to designers. Learning the language. Understanding what Akojua would notice. The organization is concerned. You're neglecting operations. Shipments are backing up. The Huang family wants a meeting about the port expansion. You've canceled 3 times. Reschedule it. To when? When you're not chasing a woman who clearly isn't interested. Min-Jae turned to look at his cousin. That look. The one that reminded people exactly who he was. What he was capable of. Careful, Taeyang. His cousin bowed his head. Forgive me, Hyungnim. I'm concerned. This isn't like you. Nothing about this is like me. That's the point. Min-Jae opened the car door himself. For 5 years I've been exactly like me. Cold. Empty. Dead inside. Now I feel something. I'm not letting that go. Inside the symposium, the usual crowd. Designers. Journalists. Sustainability advocates. And there, presenting on a panel about ethical sourcing in African textiles, was a Kojua. She wore white today. Simple. Elegant. Her natural hair in an intricate updo that probably took hours but looked effortless. Gold earrings. Minimal makeup. She didn't need decoration. She was the art. Min-Jae found a seat in the back. Pulled out his phone like he was handling business. But he was watching her. Always watching her. She was brilliant on the panel. Spoke with authority about supply chains and artisan communities and fair trade practices. Made the moderator look unprepared. Had the audience hanging on every word. And when someone asked a condescending question about whether African fashion could really compete in Asian markets, she smiled. That sharp smile. The one Min-Jae had started cataloging in his memory. African fashion isn't competing, she said. We're establishing. There's a difference. Competition implies we're trying to be like you. We're not. We're bringing something you don't have. Heritage. Story. Authenticity. And if Asian markets aren't ready for that, they will be. Because we're not asking permission anymore. The room erupted in applause. Min-Jae found himself clapping too. Actually impressed. Actually invested. After the panel he approached. Like he always did. Professional. Respectful distance. Never pushing. Ms. Mensah. Insightful presentation. She turned. Recognition flickered in her eyes. Not interest. Just awareness. She'd noticed the pattern too. The Ice Phoenix showing up everywhere she was. Mr. Kang. Polite. Professional. You're developing quite an interest in sustainable fashion. I'm developing an interest in smart business practices. True enough. Your points about artisan supply chains were compelling. Were they? She tilted her head slightly, studying him. And here I thought you dealt primarily in shipping. Legal and otherwise. So she'd researched him. Good. That meant she'd noticed. My business interests are diverse. I'm sure they are. That smile again. But it didn't reach her eyes. If you'll excuse me, I have another commitment. She moved past him. Her sister Alma following. But not before Alma gave Min-Jae a look. Warning? Amusement? Hard to tell. Taeyang materialized at his elbow. She's on to you, Hyungnim. I know. And she's not impressed. I know that too. So what's the plan? Min-Jae watched a Kojua disappear into the crowd. Watched how people parted for her. How she commanded space without demanding it. I keep showing up. Keep being present. Keep proving I'm not going anywhere. That's not a plan. That's stalking. It's persistence. It's obsession. Min-Jae turned to his cousin. Do you know what the difference is between those two things, Taeyang? Success. If she eventually says yes, it's romantic persistence. If she doesn't, it's obsession. I'm betting on the former. But what Min-Jae didn't know was that someone else was betting too. And her stakes were much higher. The Song family mansion sat in Pyeongchang-dong, where Seoul's oldest money lived. Traditional Korean architecture mixed with modern security. Beautiful and fortified. Like the family itself. Song Hye-Rin stood in her father's study, watching him read the reports her people had compiled. Photos of Min-Jae at fashion events. Security footage from galleries. Financial records showing his recent investments in luxury brands. All following one woman. The African designer. The queen. Interesting, Song De-young said finally. He was 63. Silver-haired. Elegant. The kind of man who looked harmless until you saw his eyes. Cold. Calculating. Exactly like his daughters. The Ice Phoenix is melting. For her. Hye-Rin's voice was tight. Controlled. But underneath was fury. 7 years she'd been positioning herself as Min-Jae's future wife. 7 years of careful cultivation. strategic appearances, building the narrative of an alliance between their families. He'd never looked at her the way he looked at Akosua Mensah. This is an opportunity, her father said. How? He's obsessed with another woman. Exactly. Obsessed men make mistakes. Exposed men can be attacked. Dae-young closed the folder, steepled his fingers. For 5 years Kang Min-Jae has been untouchable. No weaknesses. No vulnerabilities. Now he has one. And she's about to open a very expensive store in Gangnam. Hye-Rin's mind worked quickly. She'd inherited her father's strategic thinking. If something happened to her business, he'd react emotionally, predictably, expose himself. Her father smiled. But we need to be smarter than that. We need to use her. Make him commit publicly. Then destroy it in a way that destroys him. A public engagement. Hye-Rin's pulse quickened. Force his hand. Not his hand. His pride. His reputation. Dae-young stood. Moved to the window overlooking his gardens. Centuries-old trees. Carefully maintained. Like his family's power. Fashion Week is in 2 weeks. The after-party at the Paradise City Hotel. Everyone will be there. You announce an engagement. Put him in a position where denying it publicly would humiliate our family. He'll deny it anyway. He doesn't care about saving face. He does when it threatens business. Our families have 17 joint ventures. Billions in shared interests. A public feud would damage both organizations. Her father turned. He'll be forced to acknowledge the engagement. At least temporarily. And that's when the African woman will see who he really is. A criminal who uses alliances and marriages like business contracts. Hye-Rin smiled. Actually smiled. She'll be disgusted. She'll leave. Go back to Ghana. And Min-Jae will be exactly where he was before. Empty. Controllable. Ours. What about Director Choi? Mi-sun. Her father's smile widened. She's already agreed to help. She has her own reasons for wanting the African woman gone. Professional jealousy. Vogue Korea is planning a cover story on Akosua. Mi-sun wanted that cover for her protege. So she'll support the narrative. She'll create it. By the time we're done, all of Seoul will believe Kang Min-Jae is engaged to you. And Akosua Mensah will learn that some worlds aren't meant for outsiders. Hye-Rin felt something dark and satisfied settle in her chest. Min-Jae thought he could ignore her? Choose someone else? She'd show him what it cost to dismiss a song. When do we start? We already have. I had Mi-sun plant items in 3 gossip columns. Speculation about you and Min-Jae. How often you're seen together. How natural an alliance would be. By the time Fashion Week arrives, the engagement won't be a surprise. It'll be a confirmation. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Hye-Rin's mind was already working ahead. What she'd wear. What she'd say. How she'd deliver the announcement with just enough intimacy to make it believable. And if the African woman doesn't care, she asked. If she really isn't interested in him? Her father's eyes glinted. Then we'll make sure she has other reasons to leave Seoul. Business reasons. Safety reasons. A few problems with her store. Some permit issues. Maybe a fire code violation. Nothing too obvious. Just enough to remind her that Korea isn't her home. And that staying here comes with costs she might not want to pay. You're a genius, father. I'm practical. The Ice Phoenix has protected his territory for too long. It's time the Song family reminded him that power in Seoul isn't his alone. Dae-young returned to his desk. Now go. Prepare. You have 2 weeks to become the woman everyone believes Kang Min-Jae would choose. Hye-Rin bowed and left. Her mind was racing. Plans forming. By the time she was done, Min-Jae would realize that ignoring her was the biggest mistake of his life. And Akosua Mensah would learn that queens from other countries didn't survive in Seoul's underworld. But what neither of them knew was that Akosua had already made her own decision. And it had nothing to do with fear. The Gold Coast Atelier Seoul location was still under construction, but Akosua visited it daily. Watched the progress. Made adjustments. Ensured every detail matched her vision. Amma found her there on a Tuesday afternoon, standing in what would become the main showroom, sketching modifications on her tablet. We need to talk, Amma said. Akosua didn't look up. About? About the fact that you've noticed him too. That made her pause. Look up. Her sister stood in the doorway, arms crossed, that knowing expression on her face. I don't know what you mean. Akojua, I'm your sister. I know you. You've noticed that Min-Jae shows up everywhere you are. You've researched him. I've seen the browser history on the office computer. Articles about his empire, his wife's death, his reputation. Research is due diligence. He's a powerful man showing unusual interest in my business. I'd be stupid not to know who he is. Is it your business he's interested in? Akojua set down the tablet, looked at her sister directly. What are you asking, Amma? I'm asking if you're interested back. Silence. Long heavy. Outside, construction workers moved materials. Seoul traffic hummed. Life continued while Akojua examined the truth she'd been avoiding for 3 weeks. Yes, she'd noticed. From the first moment at the charity gala. The way he'd looked at her. Not like other men looked. Not like she was a prize or a conquest or a beautiful object. Like she was water and he was dying of thirst. She'd felt it. That pull. That dangerous, terrifying recognition of something that could consume everything if she let it. So she didn't let it. Kept her distance. Maintained professional courtesy. Ignored the way her pulse jumped when he appeared at events. Pretended she didn't feel his eyes on her constantly. Because Akojua had learned the hard way what happened when powerful men wanted you. They tried to own you. Collect you. Put you in a beautiful cage and call it love. She'd fought too hard for her independence to surrender it now. It doesn't matter if I'm interested, she said finally. I'm not here for romance, Amma. I'm here to establish Gold Coast Atelier. To prove African fashion belongs in Asian markets. To build something that lasts beyond me. You can do both. No, I can't. Not with a man like him. Akojua moved to the window. Looked out at Gangnam streets. Do you know what I read about Kang Min-Jae? He controls half of South Korea's luxury import trade. Legal and illegal. He's connected to organized crime families. His wife died in a car bomb meant for him. He's dangerous, Amma. Being near him is dangerous. You're Ashanti royalty. Danger is in your blood. That's different. That's heritage. Legacy. This is. She trailed off. Couldn't find the words. Attraction, Amma supplied. Chemistry. The kind of connection you can't plan or control. Exactly. I can't control it. So I won't engage with it. Akojua turned back to her sister. I came to Seoul to build an empire. Not to be collected by a criminal who thinks persistence equals romance. What if he doesn't want to collect you? What if he just wants to know you? Then he'll learn the same lesson everyone else learned. I'm not available. Not for dating. Not for marriage. Not for anything except my work. Amma was quiet for a moment. Then, you're lying to yourself, sister? Excuse me? You felt something at that gala. I saw your face when he first approached. You felt it too. That spark. That recognition. You're not staying away because you're not interested. You're staying away because you are. And that terrifies you. Akojua's jaw tightened. Whether I'm interested is irrelevant. I made a choice. My business comes first. Always. Even if it means being alone? I'm not alone. I have you. I have our team. I have my work. That's not the same as having someone who looks at you the way Min-Jae looks at you. The way he looks at me is obsessive. Unhealthy. Men like that don't want partners. They want possessions. You don't know that about him. I know enough. Akojua picked up her tablet again. Subject closed. Now help me with these lighting fixtures. The contractor thinks we need fewer spots, but I disagree. Amma sighed but complied. They spent the next hour talking about construction and design. But Akojua felt her sister's words lingering like smoke. You're lying to yourself. Maybe. Probably. But lying to yourself was safer than admitting the truth. That Kang Min-Jae had gotten under her skin. That she thought about him more than she should. That when she saw him at events, something in her chest tightened. That she was terrified of what would happen if she stopped running and let him catch her. Because powerful men broke things. Especially beautiful things they couldn't fully own. And Akojua Mensah refused to be broken. But in less than 2 weeks, at a Fashion Week after party she almost didn't attend, Song Hye-Rin would force her hand. Would make her choose between walking away and standing her ground. And the choice Akojua made would start a war that would consume Seoul's underworld and prove once and for all that some queens don't bow. Even when the cost is written in blood. Don't you dare not subscribe now. Because everything is about to explode. The public humiliation. The moment Akojua stops running and roars. The look on Min-Jae's face when he realizes she's not a woman who needs saving, she's a queen choosing her battles. And the war that starts when you back a phoenix into a corner and threaten the only thing that makes him feel alive. You need this. Your soul needs this. Subscribe or spend the rest of your life wondering what happens when ice finally melts and burns everything down. Fashion Week Seoul was organized chaos wrapped in designer labels and fueled by champagne. 7 days of runway shows, industry parties, and networking that could make or break careers. Akojua had attended dozens of fashion weeks across 3 continents, but Seoul's had a particular edge. Faster, sharper, more competitive. The after-party at Paradise City Hotel was the crown jewel. Invitation only. The kind of event where deals worth millions happened in bathroom corridors and reputations were built or demolished between cocktails. Akojua almost didn't go. You have to attend, Amma had insisted that morning. Director Choi confirmed Vogue Korea wants to feature us. This is where it happens. Where we become permanent fixtures in Seoul's fashion landscape. So she went. Gold dress tonight. Not Kent cloth. Something sleeker. Modern. A statement that said she could do both. Traditional and contemporary. Heritage and innovation. The ballroom was spectacular. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Incheon. Ice sculptures. Performance artists suspended from the ceiling in fabric cocoons. Seoul's fashion elite in their most avant-garde looks. And there near the bar was Min-Jae. Their eyes met across the room. He raised his glass slightly. Acknowledgement. That small smile playing at his lips. The one she'd started recognizing. The one that said he knew she'd noticed him and he wasn't sorry. Akojua looked away first. Turned to Alma. Let's find Director Choi. But before they could move, the music shifted. Dim. A spotlight hit the center of the room. Song Hye-Rin stood there in red. Blood red. Absolutely stunning. Her smile was wide. Practiced. Perfect. Thank you all for coming tonight, she said. Her voice carried across the suddenly quiet ballroom. Fashion Week is about celebration. About new beginnings. And tonight I have a very special announcement to share. Something cold slithered down Akojua's spine. Warning. Instinct. The same feeling she'd had the night of the charity gala. Many of you know that my family and the Kang family have been close for years. Business partners. Friends. And now, Hye-Rin's smile widened. Something more. It's my absolute joy to announce that Kang Min-Jae and I are engaged. The room erupted. Gasp. Applause. Surprise congratulations. Cameras flashing. Journalists already typing on their phones. Akojua's eyes went to Min-Jae. He stood frozen. Glass halfway to his lips. His face had gone absolutely blank. Not surprised. Not happy. Just empty. Like someone had unplugged him. Then his jaw tightened. Fury. Real fury moving behind his eyes. This wasn't an announcement. It was a trap. A public ambush designed to force his hand. Hye-Rin was moving toward him now. Arms outstretched. Playing the role of delighted fiancé. The crowd parted for her. Everyone watching. Everyone waiting to see the Ice Phoenix's reaction. Min-Jae's eyes found Akojua across the room. Held. In them she saw something desperate. Angry. An apology he couldn't voice. And something in Akojua shifted. This woman. This Song Hye-Rin. She was using public pressure to trap a man who clearly didn't want her. Weaponizing social obligation. Counting on Min-Jae being too controlled, too concerned with business alliances, to publicly deny it. It was manipulative. Calculated. Everything Akojua hated about power games. The laugh came out before she could stop it. Rich. Genuine. Loud enough to cut through the applause. Every head turned. The spotlight swung to find her. Akojua stood there, hand over her mouth, shoulders shaking with laughter that she absolutely meant. I'm sorry, she said, addressing Hye-Rin directly. Her voice carried. Clear. Unapologetic. But this man couldn't commit to a restaurant choice, let alone a wife. You're wasting your time, sister. The room went silent. Completely. Totally. The kind of silence that precedes explosions. Hye-Rin's face flushed crimson. Excuse me? You heard me. Akojua took a step forward. Then another. Moving into the center of attention like she was born for it. Because she was. I've watched Kang Min-Jae for 3 weeks now. Seen him at every fashion event in Seoul. And you want to know what I noticed? He's a man searching for something he can't name. Chasing something he lost. But he's not chasing you. Gasp. Actual gasps. Someone's champagne glass hit the floor and shattered. Amma grabbed Akojua's arm. Sister, what are you doing? Akojua shook her off gently. Kept her eyes on Hye-Rin. I'm calling manipulation when I see it. This isn't an engagement. This is a business transaction dressed up as romance. And I'm tired of watching powerful women play these games. You don't know what you're talking about, Hye-Rin said. But her voice shook. Barely. Just enough. Don't I? Akojua smiled. Not kind. Sure. I know forced proposals when I see them. I've turned down enough. Men who thought my heritage or my beauty or my business made me something they could acquire. You're doing the same thing to him. Trying to acquire him through social pressure. Min-Jae moved then. Cut through the crowd toward Akojua. His face was unreadable but his eyes were alive. Burning. Fixed on her like she was the only person in the room. Ms. Mensah, he said quietly when he reached her. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. She turned to face him. Met his eyes directly. But I'm tired of watching this dance. You don't want her. She doesn't want you. She wants your empire. Your connections. Your name. And you're too polite or too controlled to say it publicly. There are consequences for public rejection, he said. Voice low. Warning her. Business consequences. Family consequences. Then suffer them. Akojua's voice was steel. But don't lie. Don't perform an engagement for cameras when we both know it's theater. Hye-Rin's voice cut through. She'll now. Control slipping. Who do you think you are? You've been in Seoul for 5 minutes. You don't understand our culture. Our business practices. Your manipulation? Akojua turned back to her. Oh, I understand it perfectly. We have the same games in Ghana. In Lagos. In every city where power is currency. Women using engagement announcements to trap men. Men using marriage proposals to acquire women. It's all the same. And it's all exhausting. You've made a very serious mistake, Hye-Rin said. Her voice was quiet now. Dangerous. Embarrassing my family. My father won't forget this. Good. Akojua smiled. I'd hate to be forgettable. Then she turned. Walked toward the exit. Head high. Spine straight. Every inch a queen who just declared war and didn't care about the consequences. Amma scrambled after her. Akojua, what just happened? Do you know what you've done? The Song family, they're connected to organized crime. They could destroy the store. Destroy everything we've built. Let them try. Akojua's voice was calm. Certain. I didn't come to Seoul to bow. I came to build. And I won't let anyone, man or woman, use manipulation and lies in front of me without calling it out. Behind them, the party had erupted into chaos. Voices rising. Journalists swarming. Min-Jae and Hye-Rin at the center of a storm. But Akojua didn't look back. Just kept walking. Out of the ballroom. Through the hotel lobby. Into the night air. She just humiliated one of Seoul's most powerful crime families. Started a war she might not survive. And she didn't regret a single word. What Akojua didn't know was that in 48 hours the Song family would strike back. And the message would be written in fire and broken glass. The call came at 3 a.m. Akojua jerked awake, heart pounding. Her phone was buzzing. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her. Ms. Mensah. The voice was male. Unfamiliar. This is Park Ji-hoon. I work for Kang Min-Jae. You need to come to your store. Now. Ice flooded her veins. What happened? Just come. Quickly. The line went dead. Akojua was dressed in 3 minutes. Amma was already awake, pulling on shoes. They didn't speak. Just moved. Called a car. Raced through empty Seoul streets while dread built like pressure behind Akojua's ribs. She smelled it before she saw it. Smoke. Acrid. Chemical. The Gold Coast Atelier Seoul location was burning. Not fully engulfed. But the front windows were shattered. Smoke pouring out. Fire crews already there. Police lights painting everything in alternating red and blue. Akojua stumbled out of the car. Amma caught her arm. Held her back from running toward the building. Ma'am, you can't go closer, a police officer said. Active investigation. That's my store. My work. Everything. I know. I'm sorry. But it's not safe. A figure emerged from the smoke. Tall. Expensive coat despite the hour. Min-Jae. His face was grim as he approached. How bad? Akojua's voice cracked. She hated that it cracked. Hated showing weakness. But months of work. Hundreds of thousands in inventory. Her entire Asian expansion. Bad, Min-Jae said quietly. Not total loss. But significant damage. The fire was set deliberately. Accelerant used. Professional job. The Song family. Almost certainly. His jaw was tight. This is my fault. Hye-Rin used you to get to me. Now her father is sending a message. Akojua looked at the smoke. At her dream burning. At everything she'd built turning to ash because she'd spoken truth to power. No, she said. Voice steadier now. This is their choice. Their crime. Don't you dare take responsibility for their actions. Akojua. Don't. She turned to face him. I knew the risks when I opened my mouth at that party. I'm not naive. I'm not stupid. I knew embarrassing her would have consequences. I chose to do it anyway. Why? Min-Jae's voice was raw. Why would you risk everything you've built for? For truth. Simple. Direct. Because I'm tired of watching powerful people lie and call it politics. Because manipulation disguised as romance makes me sick. Because you didn't want her and she was trying to force your hand and someone needed to say it. Min-Jae stared at her. Really looked at her. And in his eyes Akojua saw something shift. Crack open. The ice that everyone talked about, the emptiness he'd carried for 5 years, breaking apart. You're insane, he said softly. Absolutely insane. Probably. You just declared war on one of Seoul's oldest crime families. Seems that way. Your store is burning. Your Asian expansion is in jeopardy. You could lose everything. I'm aware. And you don't regret it. Akojua smiled. Tired? Real. Not even a little bit. Min-Jae laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was rough. Unpracticed. Like machinery that hadn't run in years suddenly starting. You're the most dangerous woman I've ever met. Good. I'd hate to be boring. Behind them, Amma was talking to the fire chief. Getting details. Being practical while Akojua stood in the street with a criminal and discussed philosophy. I can help, Min-Jae said. Protection for you and your sister. Security for the rebuild. Pressure on the Song family to back off. At what cost? No cost. This is my responsibility. They attacked you because of me. They attacked me because I humiliated their daughter. My choice. My consequence. Akojua turned back to the smoking building. But I will accept security. Because I'm practical. And I will accept help with the rebuild. Because I'm not too proud to admit I need it. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You don't know what working with me is like. I think I'm starting to. They stood in silence for a moment. Watching the fire crews work. Watching smoke rise into Seoul's pre-dawn sky. The air smelled like chemicals and destroyed dreams. Can I ask you something? Min-Jae's voice was quiet. Almost hesitant. Yes. Why did you really laugh at that party? The truth. Akojua considered lying. Deflecting. Maintaining the distance she'd carefully constructed for 3 weeks. But she was tired. And her store was burning. And this man had seen her at her most vulnerable and hadn't tried to use it. Because I recognized the trap, she said finally. I've been in versions of that trap. Powerful men who thought public pressure could force my hand. Make me choose between my pride and my peace. And I always chose pride. Always refused to bow. She looked at him. I saw her doing the same thing to you. And it made me furious. So you destroyed her in front of Seoul's entire fashion elite. I did. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever witnessed. Can't it be both? He smiled. That real smile. The one Akojua was learning meant she'd surprised him. Yes, it absolutely can be both. Mr. Kang? A man approached. Expensive suit. Professional bearing. The police want statements. And Taeyong called. The Song family is mobilizing. They're threatening direct action against your operations. Min-Jae's expression hardened. Let them try. Hyungnim, this could escalate into full war. Territory conflicts. Violence. The other families might get involved. I said let them try. Min-Jae's voice was ice. But his eyes were fire. They attacked her. They burned her store. That's not politics. That's personal. And I respond to personal attacks very personally. The man bowed, retreated. Akojua touched Min-Jae's arm. Don't start a war for me. Too late. The war started the moment they struck the match. He turned to her. But I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because the Song family needs to learn that there are consequences for attacking people under my protection. I'm under your protection now? Whether you want to be or not, yes. The moment you spoke at that party, you became involved. And I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. Aren't you? The question hung between them. Charged. Dangerous. Akojua should have denied it. Should have maintained boundaries. But standing in the street with smoke in her lungs and her dream in ashes, she couldn't find the energy to lie. I don't know what I am, she admitted. 3 weeks ago, I came to Seoul with a clear plan. Build the store. Establish the brand. Stay focused. Stay independent. Then you showed up everywhere I went. Then Hye-Rin tried her manipulation. Then this. She gestured at the burning building. Now I don't know anything except that I'm tired of running from things that scare me. Do I scare you? Terrify me? Honest? Raw. Because I've spent my entire life building walls. Protecting my independence. Refusing to be collected or owned or reduced. And you make me want to tear those walls down. And that's the most terrifying thing I've ever felt. Min-Jae was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. Vulnerable in a way Akojua suspected he rarely allowed. For 5 years I felt nothing. Touched 1,000 bodies and felt nothing but cold flesh. Searched every dark corner for proof I was still alive and found only emptiness. Then you laughed at that gala. And I felt everything all at once. Desire. Want. Need. Terror. All of it. You brought me back to life, Akojua. Whether you meant to or not. That's a lot of responsibility. I'm not asking you to carry it. I'm just telling you the truth. Because you deserve truth. You demanded it at that party. I'm giving it to you now. The sun was starting to rise. Pink and gold touching Seoul's skyline. The fire was mostly out. Just smoke now. Damage control. What happens next? Akojua asked. Next, I go to war with the Song family. You rebuild your store. We figure out what this is between us. He paused. If you want to figure it out. And if I want to go back to Ghana? Cut my losses? Avoid the war entirely? Then I'd understand. But I'd also spend the rest of my life wondering what could have been. Akojua looked at him. Really looked. The Ice Phoenix of Busan. The man who controlled empires. The widower who'd been dead inside until she made him feel again. The most dangerous choice she could possibly make. I'm not leaving, she said. I don't run from fights. And I don't abandon my work because someone tried to scare me. Even if it means war? Especially if it means war. She smiled. Sure. Fierce. I'm Ashanti royalty, Min-Jae. My ancestors were warriors. They conquered kingdoms. Built empires. Fought wars that lasted generations. You think I'm afraid of the Song family? His smile was slow. Appreciative. No. I don't think you're afraid of anything. Good. Because I'm going to rebuild that store. I'm going to open on schedule. And I'm going to prove that you can't burn down a queen. And us. Akojua took a breath. Stepped off the cliff. We figure it out. Carefully. Slowly. With clear boundaries and honest communication. I won't be collected. I won't be owned. But I'm willing to see what happens when a phoenix and a queen stop circling each other. I can work with that. You'd better. Because I don't give second chances. Behind them, Alma was approaching. Time to deal with insurance. Police statements. The practical aftermath of arson. But for this moment, standing in the street with smoke rising and the sun coming up, Akojua felt something settle in her chest. Not peace. Not yet. But certainty. She'd made her choice. Declared her war. Claimed her ground. And whatever came next, she'd face it standing tall. Because that's what queens did. Subscribe now or miss everything that comes next. The rebuild. The retaliation. The moment Min-Jae shows Seoul's underworld exactly what happens when you threaten the only woman who makes him feel alive. The war between families. The passion between enemies turned lovers. The choice Akojua makes when forced to pick between safety and sovereignty. You need this story. Your soul is begging for it. Don't scroll past. Don't pretend you're not already invested. You've watched this far because you need to know how it ends. And it ends with fire. With gold. With a love so fierce it rewrites the rules of Seoul's underworld. Subscribe or spend forever wondering what happened when the Ice Phoenix melted and the Queen refused to bow. 6 months later. The thing about rebuilding from ashes is that you don't build the same thing twice. You build something better. Something stronger. Something that remembers the fire and refuses to burn again. Gold Coast Atelier Seoul stood in Gangnam like a monument to resilience. 3 stories of glass and gold. The exterior featured traditional Ashanti symbols etched into modern architecture. Korean craftsmanship meeting African heritage. A building that didn't apologize for existing. Didn't try to blend in. It commanded attention. Demanded it. Just like the woman who built it. Akojua stood on the 3rd floor balcony, watching the crowd gather below for the grand opening. 6 months. That's how long the rebuild took. 6 months of construction crews and permit battles and insurance negotiations. 6 months of refusing to give up. Refusing to go home. Refusing to let the Song family's arson be the end of her story. The crowd was massive. Fashion journalists from 12 countries. K-pop idols and custom pieces. Seoul's elite who'd initially dismissed her. African diplomats. Ghanaian expats. Everyone who'd heard the story. The African queen who'd stood up to organized crime and won. Well, one was relative. You're smiling, a voice said behind her. That's either very good or you're planning something dangerous. Akojua didn't turn. Just kept watching the crowd. Can't it be both? Min-Jae moved beside her. Close but not touching. They'd learned that dance over the last 6 months. Proximity without possession. Partnership without ownership. It was harder than it sounded. But they were both stubborn enough to make it work. The security team has swept the building 3 times, he said. No threats. No devices. The Song family is keeping their distance. Because you destroyed them. Because we came to an understanding. That was Min-Jae's version. The sanitized version. The truth was bloodier. Messier. 3 days after the arson, Min-Jae had struck back. Strategic attacks on Song family operations. Evidence of their crimes leaked to prosecutors. Political pressure applied through channels Akojua didn't ask about. The war had lasted 2 months. Brutal. Expensive. The kind of underworld conflict that made headlines when bodies turned up in the Han River. But Min-Jae had won. Decisively. Publicly. The kind of victory that redrew territory lines and shifted power balances across Seoul's criminal landscape. Song Dae-young had sued for peace. Offered concessions. Agreed to terms that heavily favored the Kang organization. An Song Hye-Rin had been sent to Tokyo. Exile disguised as business expansion. Punishment for her recklessness. Director Choi Mi-sun had been arrested for insurance fraud. Unrelated to the arson officially. But everyone knew. Everyone understood. Cross Kang Min-Jae's interests and consequences followed. Your cousin is here, Akojua said, nodding toward the crowd. Taeyong stood near the entrance, scanning faces with professional paranoia. He still doesn't trust me. He doesn't trust anyone. It's his job. He thinks I'm a liability. That I make you vulnerable. He's right. Min-Jae's voice was matter of fact. You do make me vulnerable. For the first time in 5 years I have something to lose. That terrifies him. Does it terrify you? Min-Jae was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. Honest. Every single day. But I'm not running from it anymore. Akojua finally turned to look at him. He'd dressed for the occasion. Not his usual black. A suit in deep charcoal with subtle gold threading. Korean tailoring with African textile accents. A collaboration piece she'd designed specifically for him. You look good. Powerful. But softer somehow. Like the ice had melted and left something warmer underneath. You're staring, he said. I'm admiring my work. That suit is perfection. The suit or the man wearing it? Both. She smiled. Don't let it go to your head. Too late. Below, Amma was coordinating with the event staff. Her sister had been furious after the arson. Wanted to leave Seoul immediately. Akojua had to fight to convince her to stay. To rebuild. To prove that they weren't scared. Eventually Amma agreed. But she'd made Akojua a promise. No more public confrontations with crime families. No more dramatic scenes at fashion parties. Just business. just building the brand. Akojua had kept that promise. Mostly. There was that incident with a supplier trying to price gouge, and the investor who thought he could leverage emergency funding for personal favors. But those were business conflicts, not personal wars. Are you ready? Min-Jae asked. For this. For success. For proving everyone wrong. Akojua looked at the building. Her building. Her vision realized in glass and gold and unshakable determination. 6 months ago, it had been ashes and broken dreams. Now it was a statement. A declaration. A monument to refusing to bow. I've been ready my entire life, she said. They descended to the main floor together. The crowd parted automatically. Some for Akojua's presence. Some for Min-Jae's reputation. Together, they commanded a room in ways neither could alone. The opening ceremony was perfect. Speeches from the Ghanaian ambassador. A traditional Ashanti drumming performance. K-pop star Jennie wearing a custom Gold Coast atelier piece and posting it to her 40 million Instagram followers. Akojua cut the ribbon with gold scissors that cost more than most people's rent. Cameras flashed. The crowd applauded. And Gold Coast Atelier Seoul officially opened for business. The first hour was chaos. Controlled chaos. Customers flooding in. Journalists requesting interviews. Orders being placed. The cash register singing a song Akojua had waited months to hear. She moved through it all like the queen she was. Answering questions. Greeting guests. Watching her vision come alive in real time. Min-Jae stayed close but not intrusive. Present but not possessive. Security disguised as support. He'd learned what she needed. Space to shine. Freedom to command. Protection without smothering. It had taken months of arguments. Boundaries set and reset. Akojua refusing to be shielded from consequences. Min-Jae struggling to let someone he cared about face danger. But they'd figured it out. Slowly. Painfully. Honestly. Ms. Mensah? A journalist approached. Young. Eager. Recorder already running. Can I ask about your relationship with Kang Min-Jae? There's been speculation. Mr. Kang is a valued friend and supporter, Akojua said smoothly. The answer they'd agreed on. Professional. Vague. True enough. He provided security consultation during the rebuild. I'm grateful for his expertise. But the rumors about romance are just rumors. She smiled. Polite. Firm. Today is about Gold Coast Atelier. About African fashion establishing itself in Asian markets. Let's focus on that. The journalist nodded. Moved on. But Akojua caught Min-Jae's expression. Amused. Impressed. He understood what she was doing. Controlling the narrative. Refusing to let their relationship become the story. Because the truth was complicated. They were something. Not quite dating. Not quite partners. Somewhere in between. Learning each other. Testing boundaries. Building something neither had language for yet. They had dinner twice a week. Akojua's rule. Not more. Not less. Consistency without suffocation. They talked. Actually talked. About his wife. About her past relationships. About the walls they'd both built and were slowly dismantling. They hadn't slept together. Akojua's other rule. Not until she was certain. Not until she knew this was real and not just attraction born from crisis and proximity. Min-Jae had agreed without argument. Waited without pressure. Proved he could want her without demanding her. It was the hardest thing she'd ever done. Because she wanted him to. Desperately. But Akojua had learned that wanting wasn't enough. That chemistry could blind you. That powerful men could seem perfect until you gave them what they wanted and discovered you'd handed over your power too. So she waited. Tested. Watched how Min-Jae handled frustration. How he responded when she said no. How he treated people with no power who couldn't benefit him. And slowly, carefully she started to trust. You did it, Amma said, appearing at her elbow with champagne. Sold out of the signature collection already. The phone is ringing with international orders. Sister, we did it. Akojua took the glass. Raised it. We did it. They drank. The champagne was expensive. French. The kind Min-Jae had sent as a congratulations gift. 12 bottles with a note that said only, Queens deserve the finest. The party continued for hours. Customers. Press. Celebrities. Seoul's elite who dismissed her 6 months ago now clamoring for attention. Wanting association. wanting pieces, wanting proximity to the woman who'd survived fire and emerged stronger. By midnight, Akojua was exhausted. Good exhausted. The kind that came from success, from vindication, from proving that you could be knocked down and choose to rise. The last guests filtered out. Staff began cleanup. Amma was coordinating the closing procedures. And Min-Jae was waiting by the door. Patient. Present. Walk with me, he asked. Akojua should have said no. Should have gone home. Collapsed. Savored her victory alone. But she found herself nodding. They walked through Gangnam's late-night streets. Neon lights painting everything in synthetic colors. The city never slept. Just changed. Daytime Seoul was business and efficiency. Nighttime Seoul was possibility and secrets. Thank you, Akojua said finally. For the security. For the support. For not making this about you. This was never about me. This was always your victory. But you helped make it possible. I just removed obstacles. You did everything else. Min-Jae stopped walking. Turned to face her. Can I tell you something? Always. 6 months ago I thought I'd lost you before I ever really had you. When that building burned, when I saw your face, I thought you'd leave. Go back to Ghana. Cut your losses. And I would have understood. Would have let you go. But you stayed. You fought. You rebuilt. And watching you do that, watching you refuse to bow, was the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. Akojua's throat tightened. Min-Jae. I'm not finished. His voice was gentle but firm. I know we're taking this slow. I know you need time. Need certainty. Need proof that I'm not trying to collect you or own you or reduce you. And I'm okay with that. I'll wait as long as you need. Because you're worth waiting for. What if I'm never certain? What if I can never fully trust this? Then we'll figure it out together. But I'm not going anywhere, Akojua. I've spent 5 years being dead inside. You brought me back to life. I'm not letting that go. I'm not letting you go. That sounds possessive. It's a statement of intent, not possession. I know the difference now. You taught me. Akojua looked at him. Really looked. The Ice Phoenix of Busan. The criminal emperor. The man who destroyed a rival family for burning her store. The widower who'd forgotten how to feel until she laughed. He was dangerous. Complicated. Connected to violence she'd never fully understand. Everything practical said to walk away. Protect herself. Choose safety. But Akojua had never chosen safety. Had never picked the easy path. Had built an empire by refusing to bow to anyone's expectations. I'm terrified, she admitted. Of this. Of you. Of what it means to let someone in. I know. But I'm also tired of running from things that scare me. I know that too. So here's what we're going to do. She stepped closer. Close enough to feel his warmth. To see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. We're going to keep taking this slow. Keep building trust. Keep proving to each other that we can do this without losing ourselves. Okay. And when I'm ready, when I'm certain, I'll tell you. I'll wait. And if it doesn't work? If we try this and it falls apart? Then we'll survive it. Both of us. We're good at surviving. Akojua smiled. We are, aren't we? The best. She kissed him then. First time. Soft. Brief. A promise more than passion. His hands came to her waist. Gentle. Respectful. Asking permission even in response. When she pulled back, his eyes were closed. Like he was memorizing the moment. That's all you get tonight, she said. That's enough. His smile was real. Warm. Alive. That's more than enough. They walked back to her apartment in comfortable silence. Min-Jae's security followed at a discreet distance. She'd stopped fighting that battle. Accepted that dating a crime boss came with bodyguards and security protocols. At her door, he kissed her hand. Old-fashioned. Sweet. Congratulations on your opening, Your Majesty. Don't call me that. Why not? You're royalty. You should be addressed properly. You're insufferable. You like it. She did. God help her, she did. Akojua watched him leave. Watched his car pull away. Watched her security team position themselves around her building. Then she went inside. Locked the door. Leaned against it. 6 months ago her store had burned. Her dreams had turned to ash. The Song family had tried to destroy her for speaking truth. Now she had a flagship store in Seoul. International orders. A brand that was becoming legendary. and a man who looked at her like she'd personally hung the stars. Not bad for a girl from Accra who refused to bow. Her phone buzzed. Text from Min-Jae, "Sleep well, queen. Tomorrow you conquer more territory." She smiled. Typed back, "Tomorrow we both do." Because that was the truth. They were both building empires. Both refusing to surrender. Both learning that power didn't mean being alone. It meant finding someone strong enough to stand beside you. Akojua looked at the photo she'd taken earlier. The Gold Coast Atelier Seoul sign glowing in the night. Gold letters against black stone. Beautiful. Permanent. Hers. She posted it to Instagram. Caption simple, "They tried to burn me down. I built a palace from the ashes. Grand opening success. Thank you, Seoul. This is just the beginning." Within minutes, thousands of likes, comments in dozens of languages. Her story had spread. The African queen who refused to bow, who faced down organized crime, who rebuilt from ruins. She'd become a symbol, an inspiration, proof that you could stand up to power and survive. But more than that, she'd proven something to herself, that she could be vulnerable without being weak, that she could let someone in without losing herself. That love and independence weren't opposites. They were choices, daily choices, boundaries and trust and honest communication. And she was choosing to try. Choosing to see what happened when a queen stopped running and a phoenix stopped freezing. Choosing fire and ice and everything they could create together. Outside, Seoul glittered. A city of possibility. Of ancient traditions and modern ambitions. Of queens and phoenixes and stories still being written. And Akojua Mensah stood at her window, looking out at the kingdom she was building, and smiled. Because some loves were worth the risk. Some battles were worth fighting. And some queens were born to burn the world down and build something better from the flames. This was her story. Her choice. Her empire. And it was just beginning. If you made it this far and didn't subscribe, I don't even know what to say to you. You just read about a woman who rebuilt her entire life from ashes. About a man who learned to feel again after 5 years of emptiness. About love that defied expectations and power that refused to corrupt. And you're really going to scroll past without subscribing? Without sharing this? Without needing to know what stories come next? Fine. Walk away. But we both know you'll be back. We both know you'll be lying in bed tonight thinking about Min-Jae's smile when Akojua finally kissed him. About the moment she laughed in Song Hye-Rin's face. About the way they chose each other despite every logical reason not to. Subscribe now. Join the community. Be part of stories that make you feel alive. Or don't. And spend forever wondering what you missed. Your choice, queen. Choose wisely.